Someone is really, really in love with you. Not casually interested. Not simply attracted to you. Not thinking about you once in a while. This person has reached the point where your name can change their entire mood, your absence can make a normal day feel strangely empty, and the thought of losing you to someone else creates a feeling they can barely explain. And guess what? Their name is closer to being revealed than you think. Before you start searching through every person you know, listen carefully, because the most surprising part of this message is not simply that someone loves you. It is how long they may have been hiding it, why they haven't told you, and what could finally force them to stop pretending. There is someone who behaves differently around you. You may have noticed it without understanding it. A pause before they answer you. A look that lasts a second longer than necessary. A strange nervousness when relationships are mentioned. A sudden change in their energy when another person gets close to you. They may act completely normal on the outside, but internally, something much deeper is happening. And there is one particular clue you should pay attention to. This person remembers things about you that most people forget. Something small you said weeks or even months ago. A preference you casually mentioned. A story you told once. A detail about something you wanted to accomplish. A place you wanted to visit. A song you liked. A food you couldn't stand. A moment that mattered to you. Why would someone remember those things? Because when a person becomes emotionally important to us, the mind starts treating their smallest details like valuable information. And this person has been collecting pieces of you without even realizing it. But here's where things become more interesting. They may have tried to convince themselves that what they feel isn't love. They called it curiosity. They called it friendship. They called it attraction. They told themselves, "I'll get over it." But they didn't. Instead, something happened that made the feeling stronger. Distance. Maybe you became less available. Maybe conversations became shorter. Maybe life became busy. Maybe another person appeared around you. Maybe they suddenly realized that your presence wasn't guaranteed. And that realization changed everything. Because sometimes people don't understand the depth of their feelings while someone is comfortably within reach. They understand when there is a possibility that person could disappear. That's when the heart stops whispering and starts shouting. This person started asking themselves questions they never expected to ask. What if someone else gets there first? What if I waited too long? What if they never knew? What if one day I have to watch them fall in love with somebody else? That last thought affected them more than they expected. And suddenly, hiding their feelings stopped feeling safe. It started feeling dangerous. Now listen closely, because we're getting closer to the clue connected to their name. This is probably not the most obvious person. If there is someone constantly flirting with you, constantly announcing how attractive they find you, constantly trying to get your attention, don't immediately assume that's who this message describes. The deeper possibility is someone quieter. Someone whose feelings show through behavior rather than dramatic words. Someone who may have had opportunities to tell you but stopped themselves. Someone who has typed a message and deleted it. Someone who has imagined telling you the truth and then wondered what would happen afterward. Someone who has probably rehearsed a conversation with you inside their own mind. They know exactly what they want to say. They just don't know whether they're brave enough to say it yet. Because something is changing. The emotional pressure is building. And the reason may surprise you. They have started sensing that you are changing too. You're becoming harder to read. More independent. More focused on yourself. Perhaps less willing to chase people who give mixed signals. And if this person has been hiding behind uncertainty, your growth is making them realize something uncomfortable. You may not wait forever. Even if you never knew you were waiting. Imagine what that does to someone who has secretly pictured a future with you. They may have imagined ordinary things that you would never expect. Not just romantic dates. Not just dramatic moments. They've imagined talking to you late at night when neither of you wants to hang up. They've imagined being the person you call when something wonderful happens. They've imagined being beside you when something goes wrong. They've wondered what it would feel like to introduce you differently. Not as a friend. Not as someone they know. But as their person. And that's when you realize this isn't a temporary crush. This person has emotionally placed you inside parts of their future. But there is another twist. Something about you intimidates them. Maybe it's your confidence. Maybe it's your independence. Maybe it's the way you can walk away from situations that don't respect you. Maybe they believe you have more options than they do. Maybe they think you've already figured out their feelings. Or perhaps their greatest fear is simpler. They don't know if you feel the same. That uncertainty has kept them silent. Because confessing love doesn't simply reveal emotion. It creates risk. Once the words are spoken, everything can change. The friendship can change. The dynamic can change. The comfortable little world they have with you can change. So they've been choosing the pain they understand over the possibility they cannot control. But that strategy is starting to fail. Their feelings are becoming too strong to hide naturally. Watch what happens when someone else compliments you. Watch their face. Watch their silence. Watch how quickly they change the subject. Watch whether they suddenly become more attentive afterward. Jealousy isn't proof of love, and you should never judge someone's heart from one reaction alone. But patterns reveal what individual moments cannot. And this person's pattern may already be speaking. They notice who notices you. They notice who makes you laugh. They notice whose name appears often in your stories. They notice when your attention shifts. And although they may never admit it, there is one question that has crossed their mind more than once. Is there somebody else? Now we're getting closer. Because the name you're looking for may already be associated with a memory that just entered your mind. Don't force it. Don't randomly assign this story to someone just because you want it to be them. Instead, think about the person whose behavior has been confusingly inconsistent in one very specific way. They come closer, then pull away. They become warm, then strangely careful. They seem ready to reveal something, then suddenly retreat. Why? Because emotional closeness feels incredible to them until they remember how much they could lose. Then fear takes over. And they create distance. But distance doesn't solve anything. It makes them miss you. So they return. Closer. Then afraid. Then distant. Then missing you again. It's a cycle. And if you've experienced this with someone, you may have wondered whether they were playing games. Maybe. But there is another possibility. They may be fighting themselves. One side wants to tell you everything. The other side says, don't ruin this. One side says, what if they love me too? The other says, what if they don't? One side imagines finally holding your hand and admitting the truth. The other imagines your expression if you don't feel the same. And fear wins. Until now. Because there may be a moment coming when remaining silent becomes harder than speaking. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's a goodbye. Maybe it's seeing you with someone else. Maybe it's a simple question from you that catches them unprepared. Whatever creates the moment, something could slip through. A sentence. A compliment that's too personal. An admission disguised as a joke. A sudden question about whether you're seeing someone. Or perhaps the truth itself. And when it happens, you may suddenly reinterpret dozens of moments from the past. You'll remember the times they checked on you for no obvious reason. The moments they became unusually protective of your feelings. The way they could sense something was wrong before you said anything. The conversations they tried to extend even when there was nothing left to discuss. The strange excuses to stay nearby. The times they disappeared and then returned as though they couldn't stay away for long. And one by one, those moments may begin making sense. But we're still missing the biggest question. Their name. You clicked because you wanted to know. So here's what you need to understand. No honest message can magically know the exact name of a stranger in your personal life without evidence. But the behavioral clues can help you identify who deserves a closer look. And there are 3 powerful clues surrounding this person. First, their name is probably already familiar to you. This doesn't feel like someone who simply noticed you yesterday. There is history here. Maybe not years of history, but enough shared experience for genuine emotional attachment to grow. Second, when you hear their name, there is likely already an emotional association. Curiosity. Confusion. Comfort. Tension. A memory. Something unresolved. Their name doesn't feel completely neutral. And third, there has probably been at least one moment between you that felt different from ordinary friendship. A silence that wasn't awkward. Eye contact that said more than either person admitted. A goodbye that lasted too long. A conversation that suddenly became deeply personal. A moment where you wondered, even briefly. Wait, was that something? Don't ignore that memory. Because the person who truly cares about you isn't revealed through mystical initials or random guessing. They're revealed through consistency. Who shows up? Who listens? Who respects you? Who remembers? Who makes room for your feelings? Who cares about your boundaries? Who celebrates your success instead of competing with it? Who treats you well even when they aren't getting anything from you? That is where the name begins to emerge. And there is something else you need to hear. Real love should not require you to become a detective every day. Someone may be shy. Someone may need courage. Someone may struggle to express themselves. But healthy love eventually moves toward clarity. It doesn't survive forever through confusion. So if the person you're thinking about constantly manipulates you, disappears when you need them, intentionally makes you jealous, humiliates you, or only appears when they want something, don't romanticize those behaviors simply because this story sounds exciting. The person we're talking about is different. Their struggle is not about controlling you. It's about revealing themselves. And those are two very different things. There is tenderness beneath their hesitation. Respect beneath their attraction. They don't only want your attention. They care about what happens to your heart. That's the difference. And this is where the revelation becomes even more surprising. You may have unintentionally encouraged their feelings without knowing it. Not by flirting. Not by promising anything. Simply by being yourself during a moment when they needed something genuine. Maybe you listened when others didn't. Maybe you treated them kindly when they were struggling. Maybe you believed in them. Maybe you made them laugh during a difficult period. Maybe you saw something good in them that they had forgotten how to see in themselves. And somewhere in that experience, their perception of you changed. You stopped being just another person. You became emotionally significant. They started comparing other connections to the way they felt around you. And something kept happening. Other people could be attractive, interesting, exciting. But they weren't you. That realization scared them. Because attraction can be replaced. Emotional connection is harder. They could meet someone beautiful tomorrow. But beauty wouldn't recreate your conversations. Someone else could make them laugh. But it wouldn't sound like your laugh. Someone else could give them attention. But it wouldn't carry your history. That's when they understood the truth. They weren't searching for someone. They wanted you. And perhaps they tried moving on. This may be the revelation you weren't expecting. There could have been a period when they deliberately tried to reduce contact. They may have focused on work, friends, another relationship, a hobby, anything that could distract them. And for a little while, they may have believed it worked. Then something reminded them of you. Your name appeared. A song played. Someone mentioned something you loved. They passed a familiar place. They saw something funny and instinctively thought, I need to send this to them. And suddenly, everything came back. That's when they realized you weren't simply occupying their attention. You had become attached to their emotional memory. And now there is a decision waiting. Not destiny. Not magic. A decision. Because love eventually asks people to become brave. This person can continue hiding and risk watching the opportunity disappear. Or they can speak. And if they speak, you also have a decision. You don't owe anyone romantic love because they love you. Remember that. Their feelings can be genuine and your answer can still be no. But if you do feel something too, don't let fear automatically answer for you. Listen. Observe. Ask questions. Let reality tell you what fantasy cannot. Because the strongest relationship isn't created when two people perfectly guess each other's feelings. It's created when two people become courageous enough to communicate them. Now think again about the name. Who came to mind before you tried analyzing everything? Whose face appeared? Whose messages suddenly seem different when you remember them? Who has been standing somewhere between friendship and something more? Who becomes unusually quiet when your love life enters the conversation? Who remembers your smallest details? Who has looked at you as though they wanted to say something but couldn't? There. That person. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. But that's where you begin looking not at predictions, but at patterns. And if they truly love you, one final sign will eventually separate them from everyone else. They will move toward honesty. Maybe slowly. Maybe nervously. Maybe imperfectly. But eventually, honesty. Because real affection doesn't want to keep you trapped in uncertainty forever. It wants to be known. Imagine the moment. You're having what appears to be an ordinary conversation. Then their tone changes. The energy shifts. They hesitate. You notice they're suddenly nervous. And they say something like, "There's something I've wanted to tell you." Your heart speeds up because somewhere inside, you already know. They continue. They tell you when their feelings changed. They tell you how long they've tried hiding them. They tell you the moments they almost confessed. They admit they were afraid. And suddenly, the mystery has a voice. The silence has an explanation. The mixed signals have context. And finally, the person who has been carrying your name privately gives you theirs openly. Maybe that moment happens. Maybe the person you're imagining surprises you completely. Or maybe the greatest surprise is discovering that the person who truly loves you is someone you overlooked because their affection was never loud. They didn't compete for attention. They didn't create drama. They simply cared. Quietly. Consistently. Deeply. And sometimes the deepest feelings make the least noise before they're revealed. So don't obsess over initials. Don't start interrogating everyone around you. Pay attention to character. Because a name means nothing without behavior. The right name belongs to the person whose actions can stand beside their words. The person who doesn't just say, "I love you." They make you feel respected. Safe to speak. Free to be yourself. Important without being possessed. Loved without being controlled. And if the person you're thinking about eventually steps forward with that kind of love, you won't need a mysterious prediction to convince you. You'll see it. You'll hear it. You'll feel the difference. And perhaps one day soon, you'll look back at all those tiny moments, the lingering conversations, the remembered details, the nervous pauses, the unexpected check-ins, and realize the truth had been sitting in front of you long before anyone said it aloud. Someone may really, really be in love with you. Their name may already be somewhere in your messages. Somewhere in your memories. Somewhere attached to a moment you never fully understood. But the most powerful revelation isn't discovering their name. It's discovering what happens when the person behind that name finally stops hiding. Because the next chapter doesn't begin with guessing. It begins with the truth.